Hello, my name is Tara Rauschenberg, and this is my field-based activity 4 for Education 541 School and Society. This field-based activity is based off of Proposition 4. Teachers think systematically about their practice and learn from their experience. It further delves into the comprehensive school reform and how it involves changes in every aspect of school operations, from governance to school classroom instruction. The reform movement that I will discuss is the issue of school choice and how it can create competition amongst schools for resources. As I am discussing the topic, I will be referring to Diane Ravitch, author of Reign of Error, The Hoax of the Privatization Movement and the Dangers to American Public Schools, and David Berliner and Jean Glass, authors of 50 Myths and Lies That Threaten America's Public Schools. School choice is defined as the ability to basically pick where you want your child to receive their education. Many have felt that school choice can create a competitive market and that this competition will cause schools to want to work harder, thus improving student achievement. School choice include homeschooling, charter schools, cyber schools, traditional public schools, open enrollment, and magnet schools. But does having a choice really make schools work harder so that they can retain students? Berliner and Glass discuss the idea of school choice while proving myth number 7. School choice and competition work to improve all schools. Vouchers, tuition tax credits, and charter schools inject competition into the education system and raise all boats. They discuss the research that proves students who use vouchers to attend private schools did no better academically than comparable students who remained in public schools. They cited more of a long list of studies that also demonstrated that public schools perform on par with or better than charter schools, despite the fact that public schools serve a larger percentage of students who are harder to teach. This includes students with learning disabilities, English language learners, or children with behavior concerns. I discussed this topic with my field-based educator, and she brought up the idea of charter schools and private schools being able to pick and choose which kind of students they want to include in their classrooms. She suggested that this type of practice would inflate test scores and make charter schools look better because they're servicing students that do not have learning disabilities or behavior concerns or English language learners. Whereas public schools have to provide their services to all students regardless of their learning disabilities or behavior disabilities or English language learners. Another open enrollment that we discussed is another area of school choice. She discussed how in her community, one district is pooling a lot of money from another district that is nearby through open enrollment. Because that district has the funding that they are pooling from this other district, they are able to offer more programs, shiny new schools, which to parents looks like a better place to provide their children with their educations. The district that's having money pulled away from them is struggling to keep things afloat and just cannot compete with the other district. This to me is unfair. She also discusses the amount of competition and bad rivalry that exists among members of the community, and how people from one district feel that they are better than individuals from another district. This is the type of competition that politicians believe school choice is going to improve education. This is the type of problem that creates negative competition. Schools need to collaborate with one another. She also feels that the competition that's being created through the open enrollment issue in her community, that it's inadvertently interfering with what the ultimate goal of every school is, and that is to provide our children with an education. Diane Ravitch brings up the idea of funding and how charter schools view funding. She states, when it's time for funds to be distributed, charter schools want to be considered public schools. But when they are involved in litigation, charter school operators insist that they are private organizations, not public schools. Charter schools want to operate in both ways. They want the money, but they don't want to follow the rules. This is a big issue with charter schools and a lot of other schools that are different from traditional public schools. Traditional public schools have certain laws, rules, and regulations that they have to follow, and there is no choice in whether they have to follow them or not. Whereas charter schools who receive public funding say that they're going to follow those rules, but they find little loopholes, ways that they don't have to follow the rules. My field educator and I discussed the recent shutdown of ECOT, which is Ohio's largest online charter school. They were officially closing due to a funding scam. The school was able to overinflate their active enrollment number of students to receive funding. My field educator became upset over this when we were talking about it because she said those are funds that could have been placed into public schools with students that are actively participating in their educations. So we both agreed that obviously more regulations and more transparency is needed when it comes to schools that offer different choices for parents. Goals for myself. Number one goal that I've always had, and I've probably repeated myself over and over, is that I'm always going to provide the best education to the students that are in my care. We have a lot of open enrollment students at the school that I teach in, and I always believe that no matter where they came from, my job is to educate them. So I will never hold a grudge over a student coming from a different school or from a different area through open enrollment. Another goal is to help educate the public on the funding issues that can occur in districts when school choice comes up. Many parents don't understand or realize the funding that goes along with moving a student from one school to another school. They just think, oh, I'm sending my kid to another school. It's not a big deal. But they don't understand the ramifications on their home school or the ramifications that even could occur in the school that they're sending their child to. Just educating, letting parents know that funding is an issue when it comes to school choice, and that it ends up being schools fighting over resources. I want to thank you for taking your time to listen to my thoughts, and I hope that you have a really great day.